Released in 2017, Bud Spencer and Terence Slaps and Beans was an interesting game that can be seen as a nice homage to the actors. While the game wasn't anything groundbreaking, it had its share of fun with some silly combat and silly moments. Now the duo is back with a sequel that was released on September 22nd for Steam and all consoles. But before I forget, hi, I am Savino, and this is The Flying Kick. In case you're not familiar with the duo, they were a pair of Italian actors that were best known by their roles in comedic action movies and spaghetti western. They were pretty popular in Italy around the 60s and 70s. In their movies, they often took a role of anti-heroes where they were the good guys, but their moral code was, well, not really the best, I must say.
Here. Take the money.
Well, that seems like a good idea to me. I'll take it as an expensive allowance.
Hey, wait a minute.
What? Don't tell me you have scruples.
Of course not. But the money isn't all for you.
Oh, 50-50?
That's what I'm talking about.
In this game, you will be following them in another crazy adventure where you will take a trip around the world after the duo is mistaken by 2 CIA agents. Honestly, the story is fun and every line is voice acted, but obviously not by the original actors because Bud Spencer has passed away in 2016 and Terence is not working anymore, I think. The story is huge, with every level having a ton of dialogue which you can skip if you want from start to finish. The actors are good, especially the ones behind the titular duo, and if you are in the mood for some silly story from the 60s, well, you will enjoy this one. There are a lot of stereotypical representations of some cultures that, well, they were acceptable in the 60s and 70s, but today, not so much, so yeah, there's that. Graphically, the game is amazing. As you can see on your screen right now, the animations both from the main characters and from the enemies are very well made, and they are very detailed too, which makes everything even more impressive. Your enemies, while still being armies of clones, have a good variety, and as you travel around the world, new faces will be added to the enemy roster. But if you ask me, I think the backgrounds are the ones who steal the show here. They are beautiful, enormous and jam-packed with details. You can scout for hours every bit of the scenario looking for little small things that give this game a lot of personality. You will see flags swaying in the wind, plants and trees with their leaves agitating with the breeze, lights flashing in machines, and more interactable stuff that you could ask for. There is an incredible amount of work here, and overall, the results are very impressive. You can also change the color of the clothing of your character before starting the game, and while the colors are very limited, you can change everything in both of them, from the colors of the shoes to the colors of the belt. I mean, it's always cool when you can customize your character, but I really don't understand why the developers just didn't give us more options. I mean, I'm not complaining. I really don't understand if the process can be automated or if the artist has to repaint all the frames. So if you're a pixel artist or a more well-informed person than me, please tell me in the comments. I really like the looks of the game. It looks like a movie in cartoon form, and I think it's very pleasant to look at. It reminds me, in a sense, the first Crime Fighters from Konami with smaller sprites and details everywhere. Now, speaking about the sound, things are complicated. The songs here are all from the movie, some even performed by Bud Spencer, and man, look, they are in no way bad, but they are also not what you expect for a beat'em up. It's complicated to judge the soundtrack in this game because of course they fit into the game. It was the music that followed the duo in many of their adventures, but at the same time it's not the type of music that will rock your game hard while you punch and kick around. Actually, some of the music, at least in my opinion, is more appropriated to a kid's game than a beat'em up. Take a listen to some of them and tell me what you think in the comments below.
Here he Watch out, Mr. Lion, don't bite me. Shut down if you wanna go free. I'm here when you call and I answer you all. Row, row, row.
The sound effects are also very appropriated for kids of all ages. It's 100% cartoonish, with some whack sound effects when you hit your enemies. Again, it fits pretty well the overall tone of the game, but I don't think this is what you expect from the game when you first lay your eye on it. What really steals the show here are the actors. There are a lot of lines, as I said before, and they are fun. Most actors sounded very invested in their parts, and the dude who dubbed Bud did an excellent job. For sometimes I swear it was the big guy himself who was speaking. I couldn't imagine a better homage to him.
The gambling house must be down there.
How do you know?
Well, that's the only guarded door. Let's go ask.
Hold on, I'll make the decisions here. Let's go ask. We want to play with Black Tiger. Are you?
Now let's go to the meat of this whole thing, the combat and the gameplay. In this game, the first thing you should know is that Bud and Terence are always together, so even when playing alone, you will have an AI companion that you can take control with the press of a button. And they play very different from each other. You can obviously guess by look at them which archetype they feel, so let's talk about the combat, which is very simple, so don't come in expecting combos, juggles and hit counters to show off to your friends. Slaps and Beans 2, as the first game, plays more like an arcade from the 90s than anything else. Here you have your fast attack, strong attack, block, throw and a special move that is just a more powerful punch or kick that you can unleash. Nothing flashy. Oh, and you can also run, press twice on the D-pad and unleash a dash attack at any moment. From time to time we will find some special items that will grant you some superpowers. Enhancements like speed, strength and health. No clear screen attack here. Although its simplicity is similar to the arcade games from the Golden Age, there are a lot of contextual attacks here, depending on who you are playing. Bud, for example, can use your special in many different ways depending on the number of the enemies around you. He can also pick up two enemies at the same time on the floor and use them as weapons against the others, which is not only cruel, but also extremely fun. Terence, by his turn, can jump over enemies to hit them from behind or make this thing here that I have been trying to understand how the physics works for days now. You can also pick up almost everything in the scenario and use it as a weapon: chairs, billiard balls, sticks, trash cans, pots, cups, flower pots, bananas, you name it. You can also throw everything you can put your hands on, with Terence being able to aim at any place on the screen and Bud just throwing it straight away. Interestingly enough, the weapons break faster when held by Bud. He was portrayed as extremely strong in most of his movies, so here he can pack such a punch that not even the weapons can resist. While this all sounds great, the combat feels a little loose. The characters respond well to your commands, but their punches lack the impact we look for in games like this. Maybe this is another nod to the movies, make the combat feels a little, let's say, fake? Take a look and tell me if that isn't the case. I think, and that is my opinion about the first game too, that they followed the source material a little too well, compromised some aspects of what really makes a good beat'em up. There are also some puzzles to solve that will make you change back and forth your characters, and they are fun most of the time. Nothing like a Resident Evil game, but sometimes you will be scouting the screen thinking, where the heck do I go now? Now, what really drags this game down for me are the minigames. The first game had a couple of them here and there, but here they tripled down the number of minigames that you have to take part in. Yes, have, not can. And there are all sorts of minigames, from balancing bananas aboard a boat to eating context and everything else you can imagine in between. Even a game of pelota that I have never heard about, but curiously enough It's one of the nicknames for the ball in Brazilian football games, like you could say pass the ball as rola pelota. Now that you learn a bit of Portuguese, back to the game. The problem with these minigames is that first, they are mandatory. You have to win every and each one of them to proceed in the level, so if you encounter one that you don't like, and trust me, you will, things will start to get a little annoying. Oh, and you have to win, because if you draw, you lose. Sometimes I simply quit the game and went to play something else because I simply couldn't stand another minigame. They are not that hard and you can even give them some training if you want by selecting them from the menu, but they are so frequent that quickly became annoying. At least for me. And there is another problem. If you screw up a couple of times, depending on the minigame, you have almost no chance to recover, and to restart the minigame, you have to go back to the menu and select the level you were. Or you can wait for the timer to finish, which can take more than a minute sometimes. And not only the minigame, the bosses also have their own minigame that you have to win to beat them. You can fight them a bit at the beginning, but soon you will have to escape from one of them piloting a tractor or another that you have to throw a piece of meat on a boxing ring to attract a lion, and this one where you have to keep chasing the boss, first preventing him from taking the money and then preventing him from escaping through the elevators. Overall, Slaps and Beans 2 is a mixed bag. If you're a fan of the duo, you will sure have a lot to see and listen to here. The game is basically another movie from the guys, but in game format. Otherwise, for $20, I think you can have more fun elsewhere. The game is extremely well done, but has a lot of stuff that will get in the way of the action, and honestly, action that isn't that great to begin with. In my opinion, the excessive amount of minigames, including with the bosses, makes the first game better than this one. It is a shame because I love the art style, I dig the silly music from my childhood, but I can't, in good conscience, recommend this game for beaten up fans that have no relation with the duo. There are a lot of better games around that you can put that amount of money, but if you are really curious or for some reason really want this one in your collection, hold on a bit. The first game was on sale not so long after the initial release, so I believe it won't be that different with this one. And that's it for the video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed this review. If you do, please don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more beaten up content in case you didn't yet. I will be back pretty soon with the review of Chipmunk, coming soon for all consoles. Other than that, I hope you all have an awesome day, and remember, keep beaten up.